Good morning, everybody. My name is Jamal Thomas with Sarah Bills. We are on the rundown. If that name is okay.
No I love that name.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I came up with it. I was like, what can I call this? Yeah, Sarah Bills, the rundown. We have several stories for you this morning for me, this evening for her. This was a big news week. At least that's what I took it. Some days, not so much. This week, much more. Donald Trump is threatening to reinvade Afghanistan, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. The striking defeat by the Taliban wasn't necessarily enough for him. He wants to do it again. There's that. There's the E3 with the snapback sanctions with Iran. And of course, you know, this gets to the whole, why was Iran groveling to the effectively the vassals of the United States in the first place? And so those sanctions are going to go back into effect, I believe, at the end of September. Now, the National Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, Iran has already said, if those sanctions go through, all of our work with the IAEA is out, and we will pass that bill to pull out of the NPT. And at that point, we are off to the races in regards to
Iran has already announced immediate suspension of all cooperation with the IAEA.
Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. The other one is, of course, the United States. The single veto, or let's say the single affirmation vote for genocide. There's the iconic picture of that woman with her hand up saying, yes, I am a firm believer in genocide. We need to murder more babies. So there is that. There was something else. There were, what else? Oh, Venezuela and Russia. Security agreement.
Sign a security agreement.
That is super interesting. Kash Patel, he goes to Congress. And by the way, as an aside to that, have you seen the ludicrous, like just straight absurd documentation that they've been putting out about text messages?
Well, I saw one set and I made fun of it and I went viral and I was like, I better just stop commenting. So I stopped. I'm trying to take a step back from the Charlie Kirk.
I mean, at that point, that is not even Charlie Kirk. That's the FBI making shit up. I mean, right. It was like, my love.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and murder.
Like arguments like with people that are like, well, I believe it. And then you're like, you know, and I don't feel like even getting into those arguments. So I'm like.
It's so silly. I mean, it's just so silly. My love, I'm going to go murder Charlie Kirk, but I don't want you to be a part of it. It's like, it's the weirdest commentary ever. Nobody talks that way. And I don't believe it. I don't believe this kid talked that way. I don't believe anybody talks that way.
I mean, I asked a lot of Zoomers. I have my own teenager and even like her, she's very like emoji and abbreviation heavy. Nobody said, everybody agreed that they kind of sounded ridiculous. The vocabulary was very strange. A lot of cop speak, technical words like vehicle, drop point, interrogated, stuff like that. Squad car was another one that like tipped me off. Why wouldn't you just say cop car?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Very interesting language in those text messages. That's what my knee-jerk reaction was to that. When I read it, I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it just sounded very weird. It's
getting really, and you know, you get guilt tripped into it because you're like, I don't feel right about this. And so then there are people like, well, you're just a bad person for even questioning it. And, you know,
guilt
it's
tripped.
like, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I tried to really take no, his father is not a cop. That has been debunked. The neighbor is a cop. That's what I thought too. Right, exactly that. Someone says, he tells them, my old man. First of all, Zoomers don't call their dads old men, like my old man. Like that's very weird. Weird talk. But yeah, why would he go into detail about what his dad's ideology was to a boyfriend / live in like lover. Like, why wouldn't he already know? Of a year, he would already know that. Like, he would already know his father was MAGA.
It's very strange.
And then why
It's
does
just
he
very strange.
address as like this? I don't know if the gun has a serial number. Why? What? And people, I don't know why this doesn't kind of incriminate the boyfriend, because people were like, oh, this exonerates the boyfriend. But in the last paragraph, he says, remember my love, remember when I was engraving those bullets? And you're like, whoa. So the boyfriend saw you engraving the bullets and didn't say anything.
It sounded like something a cop would write as a script to try to incriminate, like, meaning it's a full confession. It's just very strange. It's like, so you don't want to incriminate your quote unquote transgender lover, but you send a text message doing just that and admitting to everything in broad detail in very legalese terms, where it's just bizarre.
I'm sorry, if my live-in anything roommate, especially my boyfriend, was engraving bullets for any purpose, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is
right?
Craft Saturday, we're engraving bullets. What is this do? What are we doing here? What's going on?
And then
he like even addresses one of the phrases, and I'm like, why would you carve a phrase that long into a bullet? Do you have any idea how long it would take to etch bullets and what a dumb process that would be? Like, why would you? Why would you
bullets are? That? I mean, and how small bullets are. Like, and you're sitting there. Like, I can't imagine walking into the house one day and my ex-wife is just there. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, what you up to?
What are you?
Just engraving bullets.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, what?
Normal behavior?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's all like backfill. It feels like just we gotta fill it up. We gotta corroborate everything we've kind of thrown out there.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. You know what it is? It feels like every right-wing fantasy rando online gets their wish fulfilled in a text message that the FBI, run by a bunch of right-wing randos and lunatics, put out. It's bizarre. It's just very strange. I don't know. I've yet to come across anybody that believes it. Guilt trip my ass. I feel nothing about this short of, how on earth are you people trying to make this guy a civil rights hero? And you have all of these right-wing lunatics that Donald Trump has put around him, just sycophants, that are trying to fulfill every obligation that Donald Trump wants. And let's be very clear, the right wing at this point wants to make this a weapon. That's all. Yeah. Charlie Kirk has just been fashioned into a weapon. So I think they care about Kirk when they ask Trump, hey, how are you holding up with Charlie Kirk's death? Yeah, I'm doing fine. And by the way, have you seen the ballroom? We finally started breaking ground on the ballroom. He didn't care. He didn't care. And I don't think any of these people care. They just use it political grandstanding and virtue signaling. So
well, yeah. What did he say? It was like, he said some awful joke about Charlie Kirk. He said something like, well, I bet he cares now, like something like that. I don't remember. I was like, whoa, whoa, that was insensitive. It's just crazy. Like, I don't. That's the eerie part. Like, that's why I posted yesterday. I was like, the debate over who pulled the trigger, I don't know that I cared about it anymore. And I don't know that it matters or that we'll ever find that out. Like, I'm kind of over the whole, like, let's examine ballistics and what happened down the ground. I'm like, it doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
Their movement has a martyr. So let's see where they're going to take us with it. That's where we should be paying attention to.
Agreed. Because that's what matters.
There's a lot of fascist movements or other movements that have been that have had a martyr in the beginning, and that struck me as the things that they're doing with Charlie's, basically his corpse, is very strange. They want to do the military recruitment campaign with using Charlie, and there was a post today, I just commented on it, was Pete Hegseth that put like a prayer for Charlie. and it was him reciting the Our Father, but it was a montage of military stuff. And I'm like, are we going to war for Charlie Kirk? Why are we praying the Our Father
Weird.
for Charlie
Yeah,
Kirk
that's so bizarre.
over a
Like
military montage?
none of that makes. I guess that's what you get with a reality show president. I guess that's what you get. I mean, it's somewhere in the White House they've decided we need to milk this for all that it's worth. This cow is dead, but God damn it, we're going to milk it even more. No, it's weird. It's just very strange. It's just very, very strange. What story do you want to hit first, Sarah?
I want to make sure we talk about the crackdown on free speech if we can, but whatever you want. Let's get all the geopoll out of the way.
Donald Trump has threatened the Taliban.
This is interesting because this ties everything to it ties a lot of things together. We have witnessed in the last week or so a very high uptick in people saying there's Al Qaeda cells in the United States. There's Al Qaeda cells in the United States, and that there's going to be another 9/11. Just all these Zionist accounts, these very pro-Israel like influencers, and
that lunatic world rumor, specifically the Trump whisperer. Uh-oh, I think Sarah has fallen. Oh my God, somebody call the cops. Oh,
it's my dog knocking things over. Okay. But yeah, so and they're saying we're gonna have another 9/11. And I'm like, oh my God, a false flag. And this comes up, and I'm like, oh dear.
Trump says bad things, quote unquote, will happen if Afghanistan does not return Bagram Air Base. And right here, this is Reuters. U.S. President Trump on Saturday threatened Afghanistan if it doesn't give back control of Bagram Air Base to the United States. Quote, if Afghanistan does not give Bagram Air Base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. Trump said on Truth
The United
Social.
States didn't build it. The USSR did.
Well, even if we did, so what? You built a base and you got beaten in a war and kicked out of a country. Sad day for you, bro. A, you shouldn't have invaded the country in the first place. And after you invaded, you decided to create a station of power in that country. The Taliban, after 20 years, finally evicted the United States out of that country in a way that the Iraqis couldn't. Sad day. And to make it even worse, the Taliban, Russia has acknowledged the Taliban is the government of that country. We are now going to make agreements with the Taliban. I would imagine other countries have made agreements with the Taliban at this point, recognizing them as a legitimate leader of that country. When the U.S. gets kicked out of Africa, Niger, or when they got kicked out of Africa, the Russians were chilling at that base. Because when you are kicked out of a country, you're kicked out of a country. And if you build something in that country, that's the risk that goes along with it. So the idea that after you lose a war, you're looking around now, hey, man, we may have to kill people if you don't let us reinvade and reoccupy your country. That is never going to happen. They're never going to accept that. At least I don't think they are. Give me your thoughts.
I don't know. I know that they want to go into Bagram as a launching point for China, which
not just China, Iran. They want basically they need somewhere to occupy in that region when they finally decide to go after Iran. And yes, of course, they have like the Gulf states. But yeah, you're right. I think Trump even mentioned China when he was talking about this. I'm sorry, please.
No, and they're also, I'm also kind of taking the new pact between Saudi and Pakistan into consideration because that's a China link right there. They're probably trying to develop some counterweight to what's going on. Yes. And Afghanistan probably seems like a very familiar and a very soft target, but that's because we're stupid. We're sort of hubris, that sort of thing.
And can we finally dispel this myth of Donald Trump being the peace president? He is literally trying to reinvade a country that we were kicked out of. It's like, dude, it was humiliating. I mean, the iconic pictures that were coming out of Afghanistan, where you had, like in Vietnam, where you had the people hanging on a helicopter on the building trying to be one of the last people out. And in this case, you had these huge I don't know what they are. I don't know what the name of the airplane is, but this massive plane used to take equipment and people running behind the plane, holding on to the plane, trying to get out because the U.S. effectively abandoned the collaborators that were there. It was humiliating. It was just deeply humiliating. And so, if I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump was the one who put in the initial order to leave, with Joe Biden effing it up. As Obama said, never underestimate Joe Biden's potential to F stuff up. Well, Afghanistan also was a calamitous pull up. And now he is trying to come back. And then the catch becomes, okay, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Bomb Afghanistan? Attack Afghanistan? Is that your plan? Do you think he'd go that far?
Maybe years down the line. I'm kind of seeing like some sort of snowball effect happening right now. We have our martyr, we have our Charlie Kirk, who they're then going to utilize to they think that this will work. I'm not sure why they think this will work, but utilize him and his martyrdom to then recruit people into the very unmanned military. So we need a little bit of time to get ready to enter into these wars, I would think. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll try to ask nicely first, and then try to do the whole strong arm thing, and then that obviously remains on the table. But I mean, that would just be a huge humiliating failure, don't you think, for Bush? But it might as well be for Trump to turn around and just reinvade Afghanistan after Joe Biden.
I mean, what does he think he's going to do? Like, so what is the thought? He's going to have a military attack on Afghanistan. Is that the thought? Because if they tell you F off, which I suspect the Taliban will say F off, then what? And I think part of the problem too that is concerning Trump is the same thing with Venezuela. The relationships that these countries are creating, Russia, China, they turn around again, Taliban, Russia, China. Like the space that which China has reoccupied, and not done so by military force, by the way, by cooperation and win-win relationships. So when Africa says, yes, we want Russia and China, we want to make these deals, we want to make these agreements, they're building hospitals, roads, highways, train tracks, CDC buildings, etc. Venezuela, or you look at Peru. Peru has that huge Chinese, what is it called? That port that China built. It's massive. That thing's one of the largest in the world. And if I'm not mistaken, the largest in South America. Okay, well, yeah, it shows their influence in these regions that are in either America's backyard or where America left. And so I strongly suspect that a lot of it has to do with that too. So I don't know what that looks like. I mean, when I get the opportunity, I'm going to talk to Colonel Wilkerson and be like, hey, you used to do these war plans. What's the thought? He's going to attack the Taliban? You're going to like militarily attack another country in order to reoccupy Afghanistan, which is what you would have to do, by the way, if they say no, because they will be attacking that base consistently, and you would have to be killing Taliban in Afghanistan or Afghanis once again in order to occupy something that you built in a country that you invaded. So I don't know what that looks like in practice, but Jesus, that would be America's anesthetized. So I don't know how big of a reaction it would get. I don't know if anything gets a reaction out of Americans, to be honest. But that is a weird thing for the U.S. after leaving Afghanistan under Trump's orders, by the way, to now attack and reoccupy Afghanistan.
Yeah, and I mean, you can also see that there's something else brewing in there inside of Afghanistan. There's some, there's an internet outage. The government, they're saying, oh, they shut off the internet for women, which is, I don't think is the whole story, but that's the story that we're getting. Yeah. So then, of course, Malala comes out, and, she's fully sponsored and funded by Bill Gates. And so she comes out and she starts, with her sort of lamenting. And then you see the other NGOs sort of come out and start talking about women's rights. And I'm like, all right, I see what we're up to. There's something brewing in there. It just kind of shows you how desperate they are to sort of get a foothold in that Central Asia. And, you get your China, Iran, and your Russia proximity all in one. So,
yeah, we need to murder people in order to protect women's rights. That's what we need to do. Yeah. That's always fascinating to me when they say stuff like that. And Americans are like, yeah, we do need to do that. I don't like the way they treat women. So, my ex used to say stupid stuff like that. And it gets you this notion of how propagandized like the populations are, and this kind of Western supremacy where in their minds, this is okay to do. And it's like, so what? I get that they were bad towards women. I mean, they were preventing women from going to school now or holding certain jobs. That is bad. Fair enough, I agree. Even worse, they're stopping people from playing chess. That's horrible, right? And it's not even worse, I'm joking. But what is your solution to that? Should we kill people in order to protect women's rights? And how many people do you want to kill to do that? Or protect gay rights, or protect whatever rights? How many people are you willing to massacre in order to make that come about? And it's like, well, I don't know if I want to kill people. Okay, but that's what they're talking about doing.
Right. That's what you'll have to do.
Yeah. So if you want to protect women's rights in that invasion, how many people do you want to kill? Just give me a number so I know in advance. And at that point, they're like, I don't know, man. I just don't like the way they treat women. Okay, neither do I. But does that mean you invade and kill people to do it? Like it needs to be put in those crystal clear terms, because that's what we're talking about. You want humanitarian bombs, as if you drop bombs and they turn to flowers when they hit regular people, but they kill the people who you want to kill. That's nonsense. It's such magical thinking. But we'll see. We had no issue murdering people in Syria. We had no issue murdering people in Venezuela. We had no issue murdering people in North Korea. And the American public wasn't outraged by it. They were just like, oh, okay, well, maybe Maduro's a bad guy. Maybe we should get rid of Maduro. Taliban are bad people. Maybe we should get rid of Taliban. It becomes that, which blows my mind, that is the American consensus or the American point of view on this stuff. And again, I'm a firm believer that if there's not leverage applied, meaning if you don't have Americans coming back in body bags, which would need to be the case, they need to defend their country. If you don't have that, the Americans are not going to care. They just aren't. Like, I don't think Americans care about the genocide in real terms. It's not that I don't think they, all things being equal, hey, do you think they should kill babies? No, I'm uncomfortable with that. Are you willing to lose your job for it? No, not Americans that are dying. It becomes that. And so in this case, unless you have a consequence applied to the invader and the occupier, which what we would be, I don't know if the public cares. I compare us to Nazi Germany, to be honest. Like, they clearly know that the government is invading other countries. They clearly have an open secret that they're committing a genocide. And the public is just anesthetized. As long as it's going well, the public doesn't care and they're disengaged. And that's the way it seems like we are. I mean, I know that's a brutal comparison, but I don't know another synonym for that. It's just, I don't know, it's outrageous. Like, the way this country is behaving is outrageous. And you would think that there would be a bigger reaction to Donald Trump murders 11 Venezuelans. Donald Trump murders 3 more Venezuelans. And they're like, oh, okay. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, yeah.
I think we're getting to the point where it's just less work to just accept the narrative that they're fed. And that's where they're at, a lot of them.
But we've always been that way. I mean, the only time I remember during the, I think I'm a bit older than you are. I remember during the Iran-Contra affair. And that was the first big political firestorm that I was aware of as a child. And it was a big deal. It was like, Reagan was selling weapons to the enemy, to Iran, in order to get money to do something that Congress told him not to do explicitly, which is to murder and create kill squads in South America to go against the Sandinistas. And there were hearings. People were upset. Oh my God, I can't believe the Gipper did this. And then you get to Obama era, where Obama is paying billions of dollars to overthrow the Syrian government. Nobody cares. Like, that's an amazing changeover from, oh my God, we're not supposed to do this. We're supposed to be loving light. We're invading countries. This is outrageous. To, well, Assad is a bad guy. So if Obama needs to spend billions of dollars to overthrow the government, oh well. Or Libya, same thing, right? You have special forces. You have all of these goons and terrorists that we're paying to go after the Libyan government, and then we have air power because we are using humanitarian bombs to protect the Libyans, in which case you now have them selling black slaves. The ironic scenario of a first black president presiding over an incident where they're now selling black people for less than a car. Like, this stuff is outrageous, and there's never a connection to it. We just don't care, and I think that needs to be put into context where we just don't care. The media puts the stuff in a way that I know we're doing bad things, but we're still a good force in the world. It's like nobody believes that. I don't know how many people believe that. Maybe some. I don't know any people that believe that the U.S. is a good force in the world. We are setting fires around the globe for this notion of primacy, and it is obvious in the way that it's behaving. People, the next person who tells me Donald Trump is a peace president is getting slapped.
He keeps saying it. It's really insane. This is a very an administration that's very reliant on news speak. They sort of alter definitions of words. They sort of repeat a lie often enough so it becomes the truth. It's very blatant. Like he says it every time he gets to speak. He says it every time he gets to speak, how much peace he's created in the world. I mean, he's talked about it so much, he's messed up the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan for like the last 4 times he's appeared in the media because he can't stop talking about it, but he still doesn't know what he did. It's really insane. But people repeat talking points, right? For the most part. So they just kind of regurgitate, oh my God, he is the peace president. He is the peace president.
I don't know who says that today, though. I know Trump says it. I know his sycophants and
that's about it. I think, what's his approval rating at? Isn't it still pretty high though?
It was 47% last I checked. I don't use Rasmussen for anything. If Rasmussen said Trump is up 5%, that means he's down 15. The last poll that I saw, he was underwater by 3 points. It was like 52, 47 approved, 50. It's all right, 53, I think. It was like 53 against 47 for. That's still too high. Even that is like, how? You're paying more for food? The Supreme Court may get rid of those sanctions.
Yeah. 46.3% says is approval rating. Reuters reported 42%. Yeah, it's right around 40%.
Yeah,
between 39 and 46% is what.
That's shockingly high. That's shockingly high. I mean, let's put it in context, right? The president comes in, cuts Medicaid by nearly $1 trillion, cuts food benefits for starving children to a ridiculous degree, is using the money to give himself and his cronies a tax cut. The tariff war that he has applied has increased costs to Americans significantly, and you can go down to food items that the cost has increased. The job numbers have stagnated, which means we're going to go into a recession.
They've actually lied. They've been caught lying on the last 2 jobs reports.
And fired the person who gave a job report he didn't like in order to put some sycophant in that would give him fake data. Like, this is the world, right? And then to take this kind of aggressive action to go against comedians. Jimmy Kimmel sucks as a late night host. That is irrelevant. It is radically anti-American for a thin-skinned, hubristic troglodyte in the White House to say, well, I don't like what this guy's saying about me, and so maybe we need to corral the media. Dude, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, he's now, they're getting very specific and very interesting about what you can and can't report if you want to hold on to your White House press pass. So I don't know. He was speaking last night. I probably should have brought some clips, but he was speaking yesterday, and he was very, very antagonistic with the reporters.
Well, don't worry, Sarah. I do have clips.
Perfect.
I always have clips. Let me pull these up. Yeah, you're right. Well, because he told one reporter, like, you're a horrible person. I don't want to talk to you. I've never heard a president say, I don't want to talk to you. Just flat out. I don't want to have a conversation with you. Let me see if I can find that clip. Because you're right. It was out right here, right here, right here, right here. Okay. Here's one of them where they're pointing out, said, hey, you said you were a free speech president. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? And thank you, Tucker Carlson. Because Tucker Carlson has come on and is like, you're trying to use Charlie Kirk's death in order to get rid of free speech. This is outrageous. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for noticing. This is one of the exchanges that took place.
Never been. I just want to settle this free speech question. You've said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't like?
I've become immune to it.
You unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me. And that's why your network paid me $15 million or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos. And that's why CBS paid me a lot of money too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases. And the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say.
Just to be clear, this is him dodging and evading a question on free speech and authoritarian fascist tactics. Because the reporter is right. And by the way, he lost the case in New York. They tossed it out. They were laughing at it. The judges tossed out his New York Times lawsuit. ABC should have fought that. All of these organizations should have fought that. None of them should have capitulated. Harvard should have fought it. Columbia shouldn't have given them names. Like, this shows how fascists in a particular country are able to bend these organizations. When people are like, I wonder how is Hitler able to do that? And I'm not making a comparison between Trump and Hitler. I'm just pointing out this ability to capture these quote unquote institutions that are supposed to be a bulwark against, let's say, the federal government or other entities in the US. They bend over. They bend over. The rich. I mean, you get Zuckerberg saying, I didn't know how much you wanted me to tell you. And in this case, the media is like, hey, what is this free speech stuff? And you're going after all of these organizations. And in the most ironic thing in the world, on a question about free speech, he derides the media.
Free speech in America. Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical?
Is that yours?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at a different clip of Trump. The quiet, you're really obnoxious one.
Oh, I think I have that one too. Do you want to play it?
Go ahead if you want.
Well, no, if you have it, give it to me. I would have to look it up. But if you have it.
I have a file. I don't have a link.
Let's see, you have a file. Let's see, I have the clip somewhere. Give me 1 second to find that clip. I mean, this is not a good turn, obviously. I mean, he's another one deriding NPR. It's like, hey, I didn't think you guys were still active. Right.
It's really, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to be a canary in the coal mine without be getting the backlash of you're Chicken Little or you're a liberal,
Why do you care?
So it's like,
why do you care? Why do you care about that stuff? I have no feelings about that. I think it is one of the laziest arguments in the world. When I hear people say, oh, you're doing that, you sound like a liberal. Dude, I don't give a shit what I sound like. I'm telling you what's happening. I don't care. Or somebody went after another guy and they said, well, you just sound like a Democrat, or you just sound like so-and-so. It's like, this is the laziest argument. It's not even an argument. It's a matter of association for something that you think the person cares about in order to, I guess, inhibit their point of view. But it's not an argument. That's not an argument. You sound like a liberal. Dude, my objective is to tell you what's happening. Full stop. That's it. Take it how you take it. Why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? Why does it matter? I don't know. I'm hard ass on this stuff. And like after doing this for, God, man, what has it been like 10 years? I don't know. I've become somewhat hard on this stuff. Here's the video. This is Trump being Trump.
Mr. President,
New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
Mr. President, when are you going to get details
We're going to be
on
going
Memphis?
into New York too.
Mr. President,
And we're
when
going to
are
be
you
going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I
Okay.
am asking, what are your
Okay.
plans for Memphis? Many people want
I'm
to
not going
know
to
what
talk
the
to you
numbers are
until
gonna
I
be like.
call on you.
What are your plans for
So
Memphis?
who
Mr.
else? Yeah, go
President?
ahead.
I just want to.
He tells that woman, you are really obnoxious. You're really obnoxious. And of course, he's saying, we're going into New York. We're going to New Orleans. So what? You're sending military into all of these states. And you have to ask, why? Why are you doing that? Like, that's not odd to the Americans. And that's what I mean when I say anesthetize. The president of the U.S. has decided to send military in city after city after city across the United States. They're not even high crime cities, right? Or there are other cities with higher crime. He doesn't care about those cities. He's going to specific cities, in which case you think to yourself, okay, why are you sending military to these locations?
Right.
In this creeping fashion, almost like a frog boiling. And America's just stand there like, okay, the president is sending military to cities.
He called it a war
Yes.
yesterday. He said it's like a war. It's sort of like a war. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Then you just, and I hate, people are going to like, I'm going to get like an Alex Jones tinfoil hat label. We're getting reports of Al-Qaeda's planning attacks on all of our cities. What cities? What? Well, why aren't we just going to deploy the National Guard to all of the cities then? Another report came out that said that there are at least at any given time over 5,000 Mossad associates in every major U.S. city. All of this is coming out all the same time. It's just very troubling. It just feels like we're on the precipice of something really awful, or like the edge of an abyss. I don't know. It just feels kinetic. Maybe I'm being too woo woo and
That's not woo.
the Charlie Kirk thing is a catalyst. That's why I'm kind of, yesterday I kind of tried to make a conscientious decision to like stop the debate of who shot him and how the bullet hit him and where the trajectory was, and then more participating in that and watch who's benefiting and how the narrative's being utilized, and what, like, we're going to miss that. And I'm seeing all of these very interesting sort of undercurrents. Oh, an Al-Qaeda attack over here. Or somebody has like a scenario that they said they played out where they attacked the hospitals. Then we have the National Guard deploying. Plus we have the report of the Mossad agents and informants in these cities. So it just feels very off.
Well, they do that because people are cowards. And the moment that you tell them, meaning you need a pretext. And it doesn't really matter if the pretext is true. You need to, and I'm not mansplaining.
Let me ask you this. This is where I get pushback, because I keep saying, like, people are saying, like, what would be the reason for like the government or Israel to have been involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk? And I'm like, well, they would utilize an event like that to manufacture consent, or to sort of kind of build up fervor. Most people reply with, they don't have to manufacture consent anymore. They can just do whatever they want.
Yes.
But I still think that they do need to manufacture consent to a degree. That's why they would have false flags.
But see, I don't know. It is an odd association. Like, even we say on this channel, when we were talking about it earlier, it is a very weird association to go from a podcaster gets killed to Hegseth showing military clips in commemoration of Charlie Kirk. Those two things are very weird to add together. Like, I get it if there was a false flag, something gets blown up. But Charlie Kirk, who gives a shit about Charlie Kirk? Like, that's a weird association to make from.
That's what I mean. And I'm not one of those people. Yeah, it's like, I get it. You're mourning. You're even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt, I think you're human, which I don't think Pete Hegseth experiences normal human emotions or experiences. But let's say you're mourning your friend. This is a very interesting leap you're asking people to make.
Exactly. Which is why I'm saying, like, that is a very strange thing if that's what a person wanted to do. Like, if this was a novel and they say Charlie Kirk gets murdered. Okay, Charlie Kirk gets murdered. Podcast is murdered. And then it's like, this is being harnessed in order to start a war. It's like, what? Like, the leap, the cognitive leap between those things is very significant. If the goal is to stir up conflict within the country, okay, I get it. If the goal is to create a lightning rod for the right wing, okay, I get it. But a war? That's very strange to me. The Al-Qaeda stuff and the Mossad stuff is fever dreams that people use in order to stir up the public, to tell the government, save us, save us. My precious life is so radically important.
National Guard, where's Palantir?
Yeah, exactly. We need Palantir. Where's Peter Thiel to save me in this moment?
If Peter Thiel was here, we wouldn't have the Taliban or Al-Qaeda in our cities.
Exactly. So I don't give any leeway or any relevance to it, short of trying to create a narrative in order to generate and do something else. It's a narrative looking.
It feels like
for a goal,
the perfect setup, though. You have your martyr for your movement, right, to actually get people motivated, because the martyr, people identify with the martyr. I idolize him. I could be him. I could be this sort of warrior. Even the women, go look at, it's the posts on Twitter. Most of them are just engagement farming, but a lot of them are like, this is the type of man I would want to marry. It's a whole huge propaganda, like, conglomeration of that sort of thing, right? This sort of like altering his narrative and like creating a character. So now we have our martyr that people now want to emulate.
Yeah.
We need to have the false flag so we can label the enemy. Who are people going to be warriors like Charlie against?
But Charlie wasn't a warrior. He was a podcaster.
But in the mythos, the great mythos, he's a warrior. We pray for Charlie. I'm not kidding.
I believe you.
This is very very kind of propaganda 101, not in a way that I'm trying to say it's condescending. I'm saying that they're doing it in a very stupid, sort of predictable way. Like, next comes the false flag. Then we get to label the enemy once we figure out who committed the false flag. And then all of the fervor that we worked up about Charlie, after we're done with our like crusade against the left, we'll go right into that war that we've wanted. The other day I posted, or I think it was today, on my personal side-by-side, I posted the post about Charlie Kirk being used to recruit for the military. And then another person had posted that they were enlisting in the IDF and like basically said like RIP Charlie, or doing it for Charlie. I was like, you see where this is going?
That's gross.
See where this is going?
If Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, if all of them are right, that behind the scenes that he was against murdering 300,000 babies. Like 100,000, okay, but 300,000, oh, we've gone too far. Then that's grotesque. Even Ben Shapiro being on Talking Points USA, like, what's his name? Nick Fuentes made this video where he was like, I'm fucking your baby. And it's like, ugh. But what he's talking about is Talking Points USA, that he's infected Talking Points USA with his ideas. And if you look at what Ben Shapiro is doing in the context of what has been coming out about Kirk's point of view on Bibi Netanyahu and Israel and whatnot, and what they've been doing.
But here's the thing, Jamal. Erica Speaks this week. See, this is how that's a whole like gaslighting. Like, it's very interesting to watch this machine sort of spin. Erica is coming on a podcast, either at sometime this week, another TPUSA podcast, to set the record straight, to address these rumors. And now the people that have forced her into this position to have to address these rumors are the villains. And that's the thing. That is the thing. And the Candace has staked a lot on this. Where are the receipts?
Well, even Tucker. I mean, for Tucker to come out and flat out say, I've talked to him about this, he's been against this. That is a heavy megaphone.
Yeah, but they just came out with another set of text messages, which, I mean, at this point, people could just be making this up, saying these text message exchanges even exist. Another set of text message exchanges came out, but obviously between a donor and Charlie, and Charlie saying like he wants Candace to get help.
Well, on
so
what topic?
What to believe anymore? Candace is telling us they were friends until the end, and another person just revealed another set of text messages where Charlie's like basically saying that he's worried about her mental health.
Yeah, but in relation to what?
Relation to what she had been saying since October 7th.
Oh, I see. I mean, let's be honest. Candace, some of that stuff was sounding very anti-Semitic. like,
yeah, who's supposed to be her best friend? Why is he telling a Jewish donor, I'll talk to her? Obviously, she needs to get help.
Because it's a Jewish donor. And he needs to maintain.
But we can't do that. We can't say that. You can't do that. Because then that you can't just say, oh, well, he's just talking like that because it's a Jewish donor. That's just your feelings. That's not.
No. That's not a feeling issue. That's a logic issue. I mean, let's be honest. Does he have an incentive, regardless of his point of view? The person A is giving you money. Politicians do it every day. Why is Israel Lobby giving hundreds of millions of dollars to politicians? Is that just my feelings that they're trying to co-opt them and get them to take a point of view? No. It's obvious that they're giving money in order to elicit a point of view. Why would Netanyahu offer $100 million or $150 million to Charlie Kirk in a meeting that didn't take place?
Eric is going to go on the record and say that didn't happen.
Bill Ackman was at that meeting. All of them were at that meeting. Why would they need to pressure Charlie Kirk if Charlie Kirk was on board?
They're saying that there was no pressure at that meeting. There's multiple people that have came out that have said, I was at the meeting. So this is the problem. Max Blumenthal has sources. Candace Owen has sources and like various messages. None of them are producing anything. These people that are going against them are going on record with their faces and their voices and saying these people are lying. That's a problem. I'm not saying that Candace and Max are lying. I'm saying that they are taking an L if they can't produce proof.
I'm pointing out
in the public court of public opinion.
No, I accept that. But would people who went to a meeting to pressure Charlie Kirk come back out and say, hey, we weren't pressuring him at all? Or would they say, yeah, we were totally pressuring him because we needed to get him on board?
But we have no proof. They have proof they were there.
No, I accept that they were there. But I'm saying they were there for the specific purpose of getting Charlie Kirk's mind right. And I'm saying if you have a Jewish donor that is giving money to Charlie Kirk to hold a particular point of view on Israel, and Candace Owen is going off script, what is he going to say to the Jewish donor? No, I think she's right. Or is he going to say, I'll talk to her? I think you say, I'll talk to her. I think the incentive that is built into these conversations is what I'm going by. How can I accept the word of people who are at a meeting to pressure Charlie Kirk to come out and say, yeah, we totally pressured him? They would never say that. Of course, Bill Ackman is going to say there was no pressure. We were just having a talk with Charlie Kirk. Kirk, when he's on Megyn Kelly and he seems like he's in a hostage video where he's like, I can't move. I can't take any different position on this. I'm stuck. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because he feels the pressure that is being applied to him for any deviation on that particular subject matter. I am not going to accept the word. Maybe the public will and look past the fact that the people who are supposedly pressuring him are coming out saying, nope, we weren't pressuring him at all. Maybe the public would accept that. I think it's very weird that you need to have a huge meeting in the Hamptons if indeed he was already on board and he wasn't going rogue.
Well, this was a whole separate thing. So that's the thing. Some people are kind of making this sound like it was just an intervention for Charlie. That's not the case. There was already a getaway weekend planned for Israel to come in and hire American influencers. Yeah.
Well, and obviously they will want Kirk to help out with that since he's talking to kids and impressionable.
But we have no evidence to the contrary. That's the problem, is that we have no concrete evidence to the contrary. And we're going off of Candace Owens, who has been off her rocker for 2 years screaming about Frankists and rehabilitating Harvey Weinstein.
Actually, I'm going back more with Tucker on this. Like, he flat out said in one of his videos, I've talked to Kirk. This was not his point of view. Or even Megyn Kelly, like the people who are behind the scenes who knew him, even if you take Candace Owens out, and I agree with you. I mean, her screaming that Bridget Macron is a man doesn't really help her cause on this stuff. So agree. But Tucker hasn't done that. Like, what would be his motivation to do that? They could say he's grifting, but he has the largest platform in the world in this case. Why would he need to do that?
No,
I
don't know.
I agree with you, though. It's a narrative war that's taking place. But are Israelis honest when they're talking about murdering babies? And it's like, well, there is no genocide. There are no starving people. Those are just, they just have cerebral palsy. Okay, is that guy being honest? When he said all these starving kids have cerebral palsy. And the people who are defending that, do you think they're going to be honest actors as they come out and say, hey, no, everything was great. No pressure was being applied at all. Those people are defenders of baby murdering. I don't trust anything that comes out of their mouth. I agree with you. It's a narrative war. It is a narrative war. On the right, no less, which is even more fascinating. So I do agree. And I also agree this is being used and harnessed for something. And putting military on American soil should have had a much larger reaction by Americans, but anesthetized. The hubris of a superpower. Nothing can happen here. It's okay if military is on the soil. They're picking up trash. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's go to another story. Which one do you want to go to? Iran, snapback sanctions.
Sure.
Okay. So I don't know if the public is aware of this. Iran was groveling to the E3 vassals. France, Britain, and Germany, I believe. Is that right? France, Britain, and Germany, yeah. It was clear that this wasn't going to work. Iran made overtures to the IAEA. Apparently, they weren't letting them in certain bases, but Iran was like, look, we'll talk to these guys. They can go check some bases, like the Russian bases or something like that. And we will come to some kind of assessment in a way for us to work with the IAEA. Macron was like, that's not enough. The nations were, that's not enough. We want you to talk to the United States. Iran was like, we're not doing that for obvious reasons. And it all fell apart with, I strongly suspect, pressure from the United States for the snapback sanctions. Russia and China said, F off. We're not doing that. This is illegal. We're not going to just accept these sanctions. So we're going to work with Iran as normal. You do what you want. Thankfully, they're recognizing there is no such thing as international law. Why are we playing this game? And Iran has put out, we're getting out of the non-proliferation treaty and we're stopping all relationship with the IAEA. Thankfully. I had a conversation with somebody and they pointed out that the reason that Iran was working with the E3, the reason that they allowed the IAEA back into the country is because you have a liberal class, or let's say third generation, that wasn't part of the revolution. And that third generation is unaware. Like, from their point of view, it's the Iranian government that's the issue. Or if Iran worked with the US just a little bit better, if they vassaled a little bit harder, if they were more open to the United States, who's love and light, then maybe this stuff wouldn't be taking place. And Laith was making the point of saying they need to, and Laith wasn't the only person. People in Iran was also making the point that you have to show that generation that these people are monsters. And the only way to do that is to, yes, we'll have negotiations. Yes, we'll talk to the E3. Yes, we'll talk to that IAEA, meaning you need to show, look, we are doing the stuff that you want us to do. We're working with these monsters, and they're still behaving in this way. And so they almost had like an education for the youth in the country to bring them up to speed on what the older generation already knows, which is fascinating if that's true. And there's a logic to it, I suppose. But I consider this a prelude to war. All of these things are steps that now the U.S. and Israel are put into a position of, we quote unquote have to respond to the nuclear threat that Iran poses. Give me your take on this. How do you view this? How do you break this down when you think about it?
Them kicking out the IAEA? Well, this time they have backup. I mean, we have the statement from Russia and China that says they will do everything, and they're like basically to help them evade these sanctions and they have declared them illegal. So I think this time it's a bit different.
Yeah.
And I also have heard rumors that Iran has gotten some Chinese jets. I haven't been able to verify that, but I've heard that. So
yeah, I mean, they can't use them yet, but it's good that they're helping them out with it. Do you consider this a prelude to war? That all of these are moves that are effectively being made to...
Everything is a prelude to war right now.
Yeah, agreed. It puts, for one, the snapback sanctions seem to have a certain point, kind of like they were in Syria. But this is different, as you point out. Russia and China are all in and helping on this one and trying to basically ignore those sanctions. More interesting question. Do you think Russia wants Iran embroiled into a war with the U.S.?
Absolutely not.
There are benefits.
Whether or not I think they benefit from it is different. But do I think they want it? No. The Muscovites will always have a special place in their heart for the Westerners. They'll always want to be nice to the Westerners and friendly to the Westerners. And so they don't want the Westerners arguing with one of their biggest allies, at least on paper.
On paper.
Yeah.
That would mean that the U.S. will be on war on two fronts simultaneously. That they don't have an industrial base to support. If the U.S. puts troops in Iran, those troops are just hostages at that point. They could do a bombing campaign, yes, but obviously the bombing campaigns are not sufficient to overthrow a country of 80 million, 90 million people. If you are Putin and you realize a war is coming, and you're already at war now, you've been killing and dying for 3 years, wouldn't you want to open a second front? I know this is cynical. I'm just exploring it. I know it's cynical. I get it.
And Iran, though, that feels so
effed up. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But we're in a world war.
Yeah, we're in World War III, clearly.
And if you acknowledge it and you accept it, like lungs accept the air, and you are Putin, all things being equal, no, you don't necessarily want Iran attacked. But if they are attacked, doesn't that take pressure off the Ukraine front?
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's been the case for a while, and yeah, for sure. In that sense, they actually ruled the other day. They said we can't give you something, Patriots. I think.
Yeah.
They were like, we can't give you this anymore. Well, who else uses Patriots? Israel.
Yeah.
So they would go all in on Israel, but you also have to remember Ukraine is totally privatized now. It doesn't matter what happens with Ukraine. So Ukraine, the war in Ukraine is not really weakening the United States that much anymore.
But
it's actually strengthening the United States. It actually is more beneficial for the United States to keep Ukraine at war now.
Oh, I don't believe that. I mean, and the reason I don't believe it
not
is
us, the people, the ruling class. They want that war to continue. That war is totally privatized.
But the problem is there's a single source for weapons. Like the United States is not like, hey, Europe, we want you to build your own weapons manufacturing industry and we want you to do it. No, what the U.S. wants is we want you to spend like $1 trillion, give or take, to buy our weapons that we don't have to give, and that will take years, if not decades, to produce. So it's almost like you have a single source supplier. We supply like 70% of the weapons. So if you have a single source supplier and the U.S. doesn't have an industrial base in order to match, to have multiple wars across the globe, then yeah, it can be privatized. But what are you fighting with, shovels?
Well, I mean, the private sector is in full throttle. They're fine. So I mean,
Yeah, but if you
I
need a
understand what
Patriot
you're talking about, but
so if you need Patriot
the
missiles,
Europeans are going to be on the hook for most of the artillery now, like the 155s and stuff.
yes, that they don't have, that they're buying from the United States. That's my point. When it became an issue, all of these countries have been moving their weapons around in order to give them to
Yeah, but
Ukraine.
nobody's going to run out of weapons.
Well, they've
Like
already reported it.
that'll
They were
never
dangerous.
happen.
They were already reported that it was dangerously low in all of these countries. And part of the reason that Poland wasn't able to shoot down dummy drones was because many or much of the air defense they had given to Ukraine already pushed by the US. Like they're moving stuff around to give to Ukraine. They're not producing a huge amount of new stuff to give. It's why part of the reason Trump wanted to, at the very least, close this out from the standpoint of the US. And it's the same reason that during the 12-day war, that a choice had to be made of who do you want to give weapons to, Israel or Ukraine. We couldn't supply both.
Right, but that doesn't matter to the United States anymore. Like it's still more beneficial for them to continue the Ukrainian war because it enriches Palantir, Anduril, and Elbit.
No, that part I accept. That part I do accept.
And Trump is really only interested in enriching himself with private sector money at this point. I think is why we're seeing this weird fee for the H-1Bs. Yeah.
That was interesting. I actually support that, by the way.
I do too, but he already backtracked.
Did he?
Yeah, we were going to do a yearly fee the employers would have to pay, right?
It was like $100,000 extra.
Fee. That's nothing for these freaking tech companies. You know who this hurts? This hurts the small tech companies. This doesn't hurt Google. They don't give a crap. $100,000 to Google?
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah. So
that is a good point. But I don't know how many small tech firms are bringing people abroad.
True. But not that I'm upset either way. I mean, but I guess I would have liked to have it been an annual thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like $1 million a year extra if you want to bring in somebody from outside the country. Something like that. Yeah. And just for the audience to know, a bill was passed or Trump signed an order that said for companies that want to use H-1B1 visas in order to bring in tech workers, they have to pay $100,000 extra for that employee, with the idea of creating a disincentive for them to hire people from other countries as opposed to hiring Americans for the job. As a software engineer, I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, of course.
Anything else you want to say on this story? It's interesting. I'll say it that way. We seem to be angling towards a war. I'll say it that way. The question is Donald Trump going to put troops on the ground?
But it's so much catching up, It's very strange. Like
what you mean? Explain.
We need to be reindustrialized. We need to do an entire military recruitment. We're like years behind.
That's called hubris. That's just hubris. Like that's this kind of imperial overreach where they don't think that they can lose a war. They're going to get, people from other countries to help. So you may get Europeans that join in. I guess the question for me is, do you think they're going to put in ground troops?
I don't know. I think that they're kind of poking at Afghanistan and maybe see, can we get a foothold a little bit closer so we can get some eyes into the situation?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the plan. I can't even guess it with this insane asylum administration. These people are legitimately crazy and unqualified.
Yes, deeply so, but they don't know that.
Like why is Bibi Netanyahu's campaign manager our chief of staff? Can anybody explain that to me? Like, this is the most unqualified, corrupt, and inept administration I think I've ever experienced. And that includes George W. Bush.
There is a benefit, though. The Iran war is going to be the end of the U.S. empire. this shit is going to fold up like a paper bag when the United States fails in Iran. And I think part of it is the humiliation for Ukraine. There's that, where you have this kind of imperial overreach where they think that they can somehow go after Russia, and Russia effectively says no, and says no in dramatic terms of killing 1.7 million Ukrainians. And the only thing that backs up the dollar is military force.
Mhm.
I mean, people can say the petrodollar, that's fine. But let's be honest, there's nothing underneath the dollar. And if the idea that the United States is solvent, well, I don't know how many countries believe the US is solvent. Donald Trump is attached to Treasury to a crypto scheme, for God's sake. Just outrageous. So is this war in part to show that the US still has the gusto, the military?
I think so. There's a lot of this weird kind of, we're the hottest country. We're so hot. Like everybody's talking about us. He really like, it's all like ego and narcissism. And so maybe also we have no idea how else to fix our economy or to ignore our economy besides going to war.
Yeah.
Right. Plus you
Yeah.
switch to a different type of economy. Usually it becomes very profitable, etc. We're on the brink of an economic collapse. The markets rejected the rate cut. That's how bad things are. Groceries are getting unaffordable. Like we're on the brink. We're already in a recession, but people are going to be able to no longer deny it very shortly. You know, when they got caught lying on the jobs reports, they're just lying. Now they're saying, we'll just take away your press passes or we'll label you, get you off the air if you say things that we don't like.
I would like to point out that when Trump first got in office and he started doing this tariff stuff, I said, we are going to have stagflation.
Yeah.
Your bills are going to go up and the economy is going to go into a recession, and both of those things are going to happen simultaneously. It's going to happen. You can see it just at the grocery store. Go to the grocery store, buy chicken, buy, random stuff. It's more expensive today than it was when Trump took office. So we'll see. I mean, I think all of these things are like accelerants to, it's like they use the whole nuclear thing as a justification for war. And let's be honest, it has nothing to do with the nuclear issue. It has to do with that Iran breathes air. You exist. That is our issue with you. But all of this stuff is set in a context of Iran pulling out of the nuclear proliferation treaty. The vassal idiots in Europe and the United States are wagging their fingers saying, oh my God, we don't know what's going on in the nuclear sense. Something needs to be done about this. Meaning they're setting a context. This is like Iraq 2.0 that they're effectively running with, but with a country 3 times larger in a mountain environment. And
not the same industries. Like it's not going to be our normal groups of capitalists that come in and do their disaster capitalism. This is like tech giants, stuff like that. Like the electric sector, like I don't even know, the electricity sector or utilities sector, they're very big right now. They're lobbying very hard. Things are getting very, very strange. World wars are not for oil anymore.
Yeah, this is for primacy.
Mm-hmm.
It's for primacy, just flat out primacy. And we can wipe away that debt if we destroy the entire world and we have the only functional economy. I don't think these people are going to get what they want in this one, though. I could be wrong. I hope I'm right, but I think we are going to fail. And when we fail, this shit is going to unravel big time. Go to the Russia-Venezuela thing for me.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to find their agreement. I've seen the article on it, and I've seen
they haven't published it yet. They haven't published the full agreement, but they have said that this elevates their military ties to the highest level. So there you have it.
And both shaking hands. Putin gets influence in South America. Who knows what kind of missile systems they're going to deliver to Venezuela? There was already a rumor that there was a residence in Venezuela. Probably not. But who the hell knows what is going to be put in Venezuela now, which gives a strategic flashpoint in any kind of larger conflict where Russia has influence in South America in a militaristic way. least that's the way I read it.
I mean, it's a positive. I'm for it, but Russia needs to be ready for the blowback, because there will be blowback, depending on what they station there, what the details and the actual wording of this agreement act is. They have to keep in mind that they are in the backyard of the United States, and they don't care how much you point out the hypocrisy of them being in your backyard as well. I just very much hope that Russia is prepared for what could become military blowback, because it's going to get very serious if they start stationing weapons inside of Venezuela. We will have something along the lines of Cuban Missile Crisis, and we all know damn well that Trump does not have as cool a head as the Kennedy brothers, and so
Yeah.
I just hope that Russia already is very prepared for this, because this is going to be looked at as a huge insult.
But they have spent the last 3 years saying that Ukraine is a sovereign state. Ukraine can do whatever they want. Venezuela is a sovereign state. Venezuela can do whatever it wants. I know your point. I get your point. The hypocrisy is not going to matter. The hypocrisy is not going to matter. The thing with the Cuban Missile Crisis, though, we didn't know that there were weapons stationed there until those weapons were already activated. There's this famous conversation between, I think it's John F. Kennedy and Eisenhower. And Eisenhower says something like, Kennedy asked him, hey, do you think Khrushchev is bluffing? And Eisenhower was like, yeah, he's bluffing. Khrushchev was not bluffing. Those missiles were supposed to fire if they were attacked. And so they didn't know. We found out kind of at the tail end that those missiles were there. We didn't know. So I mean, we have satellite footage and everything else now. We have more eyes on the world. So I don't know. But you might be right. If an Orezhnik ends up in Venezuela, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, I mean, even something as far as S-400s would get a reaction. So I am pro this agreement, and I'm pro, obviously, Venezuela exercising their sovereignty. But I just hope that Russia understands that there will be blowback.
But I thought they already had S-300s in Venezuela.
Do they? But I'm just,
I don't. I could be wrong. So don't take this as a word of God.
I don't know.
I thought they did, but I could be wrong. I know they have air defense. I just don't know the extent of that air defense. But I thought they had S-300s, but I could be wrong. Where do you think this goes for Venezuela? I mean, obviously Venezuela, I don't think it's a coincidence that they're signing this at the exact same time the U.S. has been murdering fishermen or people in boats.
They've asked for they've said they're willing to enter talks. I don't remember if they said Witkoff or if they said who they mentioned, but yeah, Venezuela said they're willing to enter into talks.
They don't learn. And I'm not being flippant.
This comes after the third or fourth, depending on who you ask. Fourth, if you ask Trump. Third, according to the media, ship boat that they've
murdered, destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Talks to what end? Wickoff, we need you to leave. I'm not leaving. Fuck off. Those are the talks. What are the talks going to be? Meaning the fact that you're asking for talks, mean on some level you recognize, okay, there's a threat. And this threat is significant. But the way that the Trump administration is going to read that is, okay, they want talks, meaning they're scared, which means we can have our way. We can push. We can get what we want. Meaning, it's almost like if the bully says, give me $1. And he says, okay, well, let's talk about it. Okay, well, guys, he wants your money. Any conversation that you're having is because he wants your money. And the very fact that you're asking to have that conversation means on some level he's going to be able to get something out of you in this. Okay, well, Venezuela didn't do anything to the U.S. This is all made up. So what is the point of having talks with people who are lying through their teeth? As I keep saying, you lie to start wars. You tell the truth to end them. What is the point of talking to these monsters? I understand why. I mean, I get it, right? the U.S. has been trying to take Venezuela for decades. Hugo Chavez. Now you have Maduro. Yeah.
Well, this is going to force their hand with the Exxon contract, remember? So maybe it's that. But we'll
yeah,
see.
maybe. Yeah, I get that too. Where it's kind of like, well, we want you to sell oil to us and nobody else. We want to be the sole proprietor of your energy sector. That might be it too, I suppose. But even that, this kind of gangster capitalism, gangster mafia foreign policy. I don't know. I'm sick of. I don't want these countries to make amends with the U.S. on this stuff. I want them to tell them to F off because it's so wrong in what we're doing. Yeah, but Putin gets a leg into South America. Venezuela, at the very least.
Venezuela joining BRICS is part of the agreement.
Is it? I thought Brazil was against that.
Well, I don't know if they figured that out or what, but that was part of the agreement.
Interesting. That is very interesting. I mean, they've been exchanging stuff in their own currencies, which means that all of these countries have been using less and less and less of the US dollar. With the United States Treasury bills tied to a crypto scheme, well, other countries are going to recognize this is a scheme. This is somewhat desperate. The US is trying to do something to get rid of the 37 trillion using other countries to do it. So other countries have more of an incentive. And the bank that they're creating, they're trying to make a bank similar to Euroclear, which you can imagine if they steal the Russian funds. Oh, let's get into that. Europe has come up with some scheme to steal hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian funds. Now, many of the countries were against this, saying you're going to destroy the European economy. You're going to destroy the integrity of Europe as a financial hub. And many of these other goofball states, careless countries that are less intimately involved in this are like, no, screw it, let's do it. And so they've come up with some kind of weird scheme that say we're taking the money without taking the money, which is, it's just theft. Do the Europeans know that they're on a hook for this money? Like if Russia takes,
nobody cares anymore, and that's like they act like money's not real. They're all entering into crypto scams anyway. Like, so to them, I don't know that money is even real anymore.
I also like there's also this thing where they seem to be angling to get their hands on the money of Europeans, like basically money that's in their bank accounts to use that as leverage for whatever schemes they want to do on a financial scene from a standpoint of the European Parliament. Like, meaning this may even go into European taxes. So Germany pays taxes to Germany, and then also Germans pay taxes to the European Union for whatever methods or episodes that they're going with. And what's wild about this is they have no control. Like, it's not like you're electing your bureaucrats. In Europe, these people are unelected. And so they are scheming with people's money, even though these people have no control over the political instrument that is scheming with their money. That's just astonishing. Like, this is, Germany takes over the European Union, not by force of arms like Hitler, but by bureaucracy. It's just amazing. Just amazing. All right, let's go to the other story. You wanted to hit where this goes.
I think we covered a lot of it. I did want to hit the freedom of speech thing, but we hit that. We hit plenty of that. The new thing that came out yesterday in the Washington Post. Let me read it so I don't mess it up. 1 second. It says that DOW remains committed to transparency to promote accountability and public trust. However, DOW information must be approved for public release by an appropriate authorizing official before it is released, even if it is unclassified. The Department of War must safeguard classified national security information in accordance with Executive Order and the Atomic Energy Act, and information designated as controlled unclassified information. Only authorized persons who have received favorable determinations of eligibility for access signed approved non-disclosure agreements and have a need to know will be granted access to CNSI. DOW may only provide CUI to individuals when there is a lawful government purpose in doing so. The
That's
journalist must also plead or pledge not to obtain any unauthorized info, even if classified, or they will lose their credentials. Reporters refusing to sign are banned from the building.
Well, that's fine.
Mainstream outlets have already been expelled from the Pentagon.
That is illegal. Like if a reporter gets classified information, they can publish that classified information. Doesn't matter what the Department of War thinks. Doesn't matter what Trump thinks. Doesn't matter. First Amendment right to publish that data and that information. Now they could say, well, we're not going to allow you into the building. Okay, fair enough. That doesn't stop them from publishing the information, short of the leverage that's being applied to whatever media organization. But it's like, so what? It's not like you're going to get a straight answer from Trump anyway. He lies as easily as he breathes. So, you know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Or do you disagree with me on this?
No, I was actually going off today. I was like, God, my God, all they do is lie. And then I got gaslit immediately. And they were like, politicians lie? Oh my God. And I was like, you know what I mean? Like you just get you get gaslit.
You have an interesting circle of people around you.
That's
And
like,
maybe-
but I like to be prepared for when people push back on on the argument, you know, like, so that's why I ask you things like, how do you reply to this? Like in like from an outsider's perspective, or how
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
because I like to understand like what the pushback is going to be, and that's what it is. I'm gaslit into the, well, you know, all politicians lie, and I'm like, yeah, but I just feel like
this is different.
yeah, I'm like,
This
dude,
feels different.
I've
Like, if Obama-
lived through Clinton all the way up to Trump, and I just don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
Because it's there. Politicians lie in a particular way. So if Obama said there are no boots on the ground in Syria, okay, he's lying, right? Or if Obama is saying something about, I don't know, you know, we believe in freedom of speech, and yet he's using the Espionage Act to go after journalists. Okay, he's lying, but he's lying in a particular fashion. Everything that comes out of Trump's mouth is usually a lie, and it's a lie in a way that you know it's a lie, which on some level makes it even worse. Like, oh, those were drug dealers on the boat. Okay, how do you know Trump? We just know. And it's like, well, you know he's lying. But the fact that he's lying doesn't change policy. Maybe that's what it is. It's lies in a way where it is an obvious lie, and yet the policy goes forward either way.
Exactly.
So,
It goes
our
according to
tariffs
the
are-
lie. And even
Yeah.
after the lie is revealed to have been a lie, there's no correction or rectification or
It just
recantation.
doesn't matter.
Nothing.
Yeah. It's you know, our tariffs brought in $3 trillion. We have $30 trillion that we've gotten from our tariffs. You know it's a lie. Everybody knows he's lying. But that doesn't stop him from saying that lie.
They should put it towards the debt.
Yeah. It's very weird. Like it's so different. It's when a politician lies, all things being equal, they don't want you to know that they're lying, usually.
So
Trump doesn't-
much lying. It's so much lying. It's like you're not ever meant to get your feet on the ground. You're not ever meant to like get grounded and feel like, all right, I've got a handle on this situation. They all lie all the time. There's so much lying. Kash Patel lying under oath. Come on, dude. Trump's name is not in the Epstein files.
Is that what he said? Is that what he said?
They
I think
said
that's what
all kinds of crazy stuff on the stand on Thursday or Tuesday, whatever it was.
I really do think that's what you're sensing. Like when you look at it and say, God, man, they're lying so much. And when people are like, yeah, but all politicians lie. It's like, yeah, but they typically don't want you to know that they're lying.
But then
And
they're
Trump
like,
is.
oh, but you just don't like Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome. You're a leftist.
I don't like either.
Me neither.
Being a leftist is not being a Democrat. There's a difference in those things. look, my point of view is not governed around what rando is in office. My point of view is my point of view.
No, I know that. I'm saying these are the pushback points that I try to figure out how to argue against.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Like, anything that you say, you're going to get hit because you're in a political environment. Anything. Like, there is no space for you to occupy to avoid taking that hit. But I think you're like me in this case, that your point of view is not governed by whatever rando is in office, whatever political party is in
I hate
power.
them both. I actually think I hate Biden more because it's not as entertaining. But now this is starting to get really scary. This is starting to get a little too scary. I guess it's starting to get a little too real.
But I think that's your argument against these randos who are attacking you for this. Like, dude, my point of view is not governed by any of these people. I hate them both.
Yeah, I really hate Biden.
Yeah. I mean, so I get your point. People would say, yeah, Jamal has Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, dude, I defended Trump when they were trying to put him in a cage.
Yeah.
This doesn't really apply in this case. I'm going by a value set of saying, when you have a president that is getting rid of a comedian because he doesn't like what the guy is saying, okay, that's some pretty heavy fascist shit. That's not Trump derangement syndrome. That's what he's doing. That's what he did. Why would my value set be okay with him doing that? Just every bit as much as I was against Joe Biden putting in the Ministry of Truth or working behind the scenes in order to criminalize speech on social media. So it's like, I am firm in where I stand on this stuff. It's not governed by these idiots.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's the response to it. It's like, basically, fuck off. That's the response. Just 2 words. Fuck off. Period.
Fuck off. I like it.
Send me an email. Yeah, going to the free speech stuff, or going to, and you can hit the Kash Patel thing too, because I didn't see the Kash Patel thing. I didn't see his testimony.
You need to go watch some of it. He recited the ABCs.
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett was like, "You are the most unqualified FBI director we have ever had." Now, guys, you can hate me all you want. I love me some Jasmine Crockett.
I can't stand Jasmine Crockett.
She's so funny. But she was like, "You are the most unqualified FBI director we have ever had in the history of the organization." And he was like, "That is not true." And she's like, "I didn't ask." I was like, okay, but no, there's actually like great parts in there where he talks about the Epstein files. They talk about them constantly. He lies. He lies about how many times Trump's name is in them. He lies whether it's in there at all. It's insane. And he says to Eric Swalwell, whom I also hate, awful person, but he says, "Why don't you go catch why your city is like loaded with pedophiles? I could help you catch them." And it's like, you're on the stand talking about the pedophile that you're not catching right now. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? It's like such a team sport these days.
They really need to put this in context. The U.S. government, Democrat and Republicans, by the way, because Joe Biden didn't open the Epstein files, he could have. They didn't care. They are openly protecting pedophiles. They are openly protecting people who were having sex with children, and is doing everything in their power to release or to prevent that information about who these people are from being released. That's astonishing. That is astonishing. Like, pedophiles, their position, even in prison, it's like, I know I murdered 4 people and ate their brains, but you're a pedophile. You're worse. These are the people that Trump, Patel, his administration is fully on board and protecting and doing everything in their power to prevent that information from being released. People need to really sit with that. Your government is doing this. Like, this is not one individual. This is your government throwing its body to protect a litany of pedophiles that are apparently being exposed in those documents. That's grotesque.
Yeah.
That's grotesque. That's other level grotesque. Where do you think the free speech stuff goes? I mean, obviously he's talking about Antifa. And obviously he's talking about...
Well, the thing with Antifa, now I am anti-Antifa in the sense of I don't like the black bloc. I don't like that sort of protesting. I don't like that sort of activism. I'm not against Antifa in the sense of the ideology of anti-fascism or like the actual Antifa, the German Antifa.
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand what their definition of Antifa is. Like, can I know the criteria? We don't really have, there never really was an organized Antifa ever. I mean, at their peak in 2020 and 2021 was probably when they were the most popular, don't you think? When they were the most talked about, at least. And you just don't really find that sort of activism anymore. They were mostly in the Pacific Northwest, as far as I knew. And I don't know that Antifa, I think this is just a boogeyman, or they're saying Antifa, and then that will be a very broad brush that they use to because they're going to find that they're not going to find much Antifa. Because they just don't really exist. So what does it morph into? Do you know what I mean? Because they're going to need to hunt down somebody. They need somebody to hunt down. That's what this is all about,
It puts me in mind of Richard Medhurst, where he goes into, I think it was Austria, and they were like, well, you're a terrorist because you were working with Hamas, and so you don't have any rights. Like, meaning, in the same way that he labels those people on the boat, narco, whatever, they're bringing drugs into the U.S. Yeah, it's like the reality didn't matter. The label was the thing that mattered, and the label now allows you to do X or Y.
Exactly, and that's what's going to happen with this, and eventually it will become sort of synonymous with pro-Palestine, which is already synonymous with just being anti-Israel,
Yeah.
So or anti-Zionist. So yeah, it'll maybe become maybe kind of blossom into that sort of huge umbrella. Antifa's kind of strong, though. You're gonna have to make a few leaps to get all the way to the pro-Palestine cause, but I think maybe that's the idea. It's this sort of wordplay that they've been doing a lot. This sort of associating things with things that maybe don't have much in common, but as long as you establish the connection, it's good to go.
It's like, we're going into Iraq because Saddam has weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Right. That was more well put together than whatever the fuck this mess is. We're going into Iran because we think they might have nuclear weapons or they're enriching uranium, but Palantir told us and Charlie Kirk's dead, so we got to go.
Right.
So bad. This narrative is bad.
Right. All right. We have hit the hour and 30 mark. Is there anything else that you want to hit before we close?
No, I just want to say I hope I get to talk to you again by Thursday. We don't know what's happening with free speech or our voices or what will happen, man. You better stay out of the United States. Plan on staying out of the United States. You have more freedom.
My mom was like, are they going to stop you at the border? I was like, I don't know. I mean, how do I know? I mean, I haven't done anything for them to stop me at the border. But I don't have any plans coming back anytime soon. So
you shouldn't.
But it looks like it is devolving and devolving fast and devolving in a way that's somewhat unpredictable in the way that it's operating. President putting troops on the ground in the U.S. is a big deal. And for some reason, the U.S. doesn't seem to realize it. I think we've become so complacent because things have been, let's say, normalized for such a long time that we don't recognize the abnormality in the context of that normality. Like, how can I say this? It's one thing if you live in a country where bombs were hitting your buildings, you have a memory of that. You're more reactive to things that your government is doing because you have to be more reactive. You have a memory of what your government was. Brazil, for example, putting Bolsonaro in prison for 27 years. Well, they lived through a dictatorship. And many of the people who lived through that dictatorship was like, this is beyond the pale. We're not doing this again. And the political instrument gets involved in order to say, this is a hard no. You're not doing this. You're not going to murder Lula. You're not going to murder the court. You're not going to, etc. Whereas for us, it's like, well, I've lived in this country for 60, 70 years and nothing has ever happened. So they don't recognize and they're not responsive to the cues that are this kind of feedback mechanism of, dude, your country is changing. It's changing before your very eyes.
It's also very incremental. They're very slow about it and very, like I said the other day, I was like, I feel like we have this huge network of people. They're all connected. Like they're a Palantir over here. They're in education over here. They're in some other sector here. And they're all just sort of pushing a little bit here and a little bit here, all along the same front. They have this huge united front where they just kind of inch forward slowly. We don't know we don't know what we're gonna be missing until it's gone.
They're boiling a frog.
Mhm.
Boiling a frog. On the positive side, I mean, and I guess this is me being optimistic, or this is me, all empires fall. And in the context of all empires falling, there's usually something else that comes after. And in our case, this is going to be global in the way that this operates. And whatever comes on the other side of that world will be fundamentally different than what it's now. And that may be to the best, because I don't know how you get to a different world without this one collapsing. Even though I don't say that casually, because there's a lot of screaming and blood and, people losing their fingernails as a result. But on the positive side, we may not get to the promised land, but there is a promised land that's out there that we will eventually get to. Always, meaning if you were in the middle of World War II, you would think the world was ending. Or if you were a slave, you would have never thought that they were going to get rid of slavery. All of these situations that people are in, they don't necessarily think there's a way out until X number of years later where there's a new norm. So that may not be all that encouraging to the people who are living now, but there will be something new that comes about. At least that's my firm conviction. I could be wrong. My ideology talking. Sarah, you are great. Sarah Bills, DD Geopolitics. This is the rundown every Saturday at 8 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock your time. When is your next show coming up, by the way?
Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So 4 p.m. New York time. And I'll see you guys there. Thank you, Jamal. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
I will. The other man.
See you on Thursday.
The other man. Have a good one. You be safe. Well, that depends on whether or not you're going to be available. She may not be available. All right, let's go through super chats. Let's go through these while we're here. Let's see. Louise Brooks, thank you both. The CK situation feels like an op. It does feel like an op. I don't doubt that Kirk was murdered. Obviously, he was murdered. But man, they latched onto this so quickly. And man, they fashioned this into a weapon, a cudgel, almost immediately the moment that it happened. So agreed, Louise Brooks. It feels like an operation just because of the propaganda and everything else that just kind of went behind it and trying to reinvigorate his image, rehabilitate him. Yeah, it is weird. It is weird. Agreed. Java Joe, happy Saturday to all political news junkies that are out there. Java Joe, back at you. Java Joe, I need a cup of Java myself. There's a coffee shop downstairs that I can go to, but I haven't had my, so I bought a water kettle, a hot water kettle. Last time my ex-wife and I were in Europe, that was the first time we were introduced to it, and we were like, oh my God, we're hooked. First thing we bought when we got back. The other apartment that I was living in didn't have one. And so I went out and purchased one because that's how much I needed it, because I like coffee when I do my show. And then I moved to another apartment and I couldn't bring it with me. And so now I'm in this apartment. It doesn't have one, so I am missing coffee badly. But Java Joe, yes. By the way, I'm going to get t-shirts with this is some hot coffee, this is some good coffee, and those type of things. I may get one, so I'm a car salesman, which is fucking hilarious to me. But we'll see. Those are things that I'm going to get for the channel. I think they're funny. People have asked for them. So we'll go with it. Let's see. What's the name? Lucas Mansion. Imagine losing a 20-year war with the Taliban and then threatening them with more war. Dementia is hitting Trump hard. Yeah, cocaine is a hell of a drug, right? Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Yeah, there's a lunacy about it. Hey, I know you beat us in this 20-year war, and I know you evicted us out of Afghanistan. But we're now coming back to Afghanistan. So, just know bad things are going to happen. Okay, what are those bad things? Enumerate. Explain to us what those bad things are. And what are you going to do? Murder a bunch of Afghanistan? What are you going to do? Attack Afghanistan again? You're going to militarily attack Afghanistan? What are you going to do? So we'll see. He may, by the way. He may. I mean, this notion of peace President Trump is nonsense. Absolute hogwash. Sir Mike Salada Day. They are just incompetent and propaganda. when going down the rabbit hole, try to look back at reality to get grounded. Some just suck at propaganda. So Mike said, I think it's more than that, though. Like, if I'm Democrats and I say Trump is working with the Russians, Vladimir Putin helped Trump and pulled him off across the finish line in order to win the election. Okay, they're lying. They're lying because Hillary Clinton doesn't want to own the fact that she just failed miserably. They're lying because they're looking for a political weapon as a cudgel, a propaganda weapon to effectively use against Trump in order to corral his administration. They're lying because they want to find a pretext by which they can get Trump out of office in a soft coup. There are multiple reasons that they're lying. And this lying infected multiple branches of the government in a way that if you squint and if you're stoned, you can accept the truth of it. Or if you're a Democrat and you're a cultist. This is different. This is 2 + 2 is 6. And you're like, no, it's not, it's 4. No, we're saying it's 6. And we're now going to operate under the assumption that it is 6. And we're going to build additional nonsense on top of the fact that it's 6. Meaning it's different because you know he's lying through his teeth. And he knows you know he's lying through his teeth. And he lies nonetheless. It's different. It's not functioning in the same way that lies would function. Usually a politician lies because they don't want you to know something. If you think of the way most people lie, they're lying because they're hiding something. There's something they don't want to disclose. There's something they don't want to expose to whoever they're lying to. These can be innocent lies. No, really, you look very thin in that dress. You haven't put on a pound. No, the hairstyle is great. You're nailing it with that. Or, I didn't cheat at all. I didn't have sex with that woman in the least. Those are different lies. In one case, you're lying because you don't want to hurt her feelings. In another case, you're lying because you don't want to get caught that you had sex with the skinny leg chick. Those are very different things. I'm saying that the way the Trump administration lies is different than the way other politicians lied. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Okay, well, Bill Clinton is lying. Many people knew he was lying in that moment. He's trying to cover himself. I just murdered 11 people in a boat, and I'm going to call them, that they were pulling drugs out. There's no evidence for it. Trump is a habitual liar. Hey, yeah, let's have a meeting and let's talk about this. And then you bomb the meeting. We didn't know anything about the fact that Israel was going to bomb that meeting. There is no genocide taking place in Gaza. There are no starving children. We haven't seen any starving children. They have just cerebral palsy. These are quantitatively different lies. He's lying about something that everybody knows he's lying about, and yet he lies nonetheless. And a reality is being constructed around the lie, which will most likely be another lie built on top of another lie. These are different. This is not being bad at propaganda. This is just lies. And they run with the lies without any care at all that you know they're lying. That's different. It's a quantitative difference in the way that it operates. And by the way, terrifying. It's terrifying. Like, if George Bush comes out and says, this is enhanced interrogation and everybody knows it's torture. Okay, that's a smaller version of that, right? We are flagrantly breaking the law. We know we're breaking the law. You know that we're breaking the law because we have a law against torture. But many of my cultists and people who are just racist and hate Muslims will be okay with this lie. And so I'm able to get away with this lie. But this is different. They don't care that you know they're lying through their teeth. Kash Patel knows that everybody knows that Donald Trump was close friends with Epstein for decades. How do you go on stand and say, well, Trump is not in the Epstein list, so there is a list? When Trump comes out and says there is no list, and then he comes out and says, well, the list was created by Democrats. Like, the lies aren't even consistent. When he came out in that interview, and he kept saying tariffs are going to be great. Tariffs are going to be fantastic for this country. No prices are going to increase. None of that is going to happen. And then in the interview says, almost like within a few minutes, well, how many teddy bears do people need? How many doll babies do people need? I mean, you don't need 17 doll babies. You can get away with 2. Okay, so prices are going to increase. Maybe I want my 17 doll babies. Maybe I'm an American, right? We're a consumerist society. Maybe I want my 17. I deserve my 17 doll babies. But what you're telling me now, more importantly than anything else about me and my doll babies, is that the prices will increase. Your tariffs will create price increases. Meaning the lies aren't even consistent. He can't even keep the narrative straight because he doesn't care. That's the main difference. That's the terrifying element of it. If somebody is lying to you, they care about something. They care about your perception of it. They care about their own perception of themselves and the weakness of whatever is going on that is creating this need, this necessity to lie. When you can't even keep your lies straight, you don't care. You're just giving the public something to hold on to. Here's a placeholder for this. I know you know it's a lie, but it doesn't matter. I'm giving you a placeholder for it. And now when I talk about it, I'm going to talk about it in the context of the lie, the placeholder. Yeah, that's terrifying. That's different. All politicians lie. This is quantitatively different. Trump and Bibi are fighting over ownership at the ruins of Gaza. This is all part of a bigger negotiation. Christopher Newton. I have a hypothesis. The U.S. uses Israel for its own ends in the Middle East. That is true. I think that's a flat fact. This is not the tail wagging the dog. This is the dog wagging the tail. But does this mean that Israel doesn't have its own mind? Meaning Israel still has things that it wants. And one of the things that it wants is control of the Middle East. It wants to be a hegemon in that region, even complete with nukes. If you know that all things being equal, the United States is the very air that Israel breathes. Israel has to know this. Even if you're spending $100 billion, you're spending that money for reasons. You're not spending it for no reason, right? Does Israel want the United States in the Middle East? Yea or nay? Meaning if they want to be a hegemon in the region and they know that they're being on some level controlled by the US, would they chafe under that control? Now, Netanyahu said something very interesting in a speech that he gave where he pointed out we need to have our own industries. We need to have our own ability to defend ourselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, okay, dude, you're a country of 8 million people. How are you going to do that? How do you plan to pull that off? How do you plan to have people provide food, provide buildings, provide all of these other elements to an economy and have a massive weapons industry where you can effectively try to pacify the rest of the Middle East? By the way, countries of 50, 60, 80, 90, hundreds of billions of people, hundreds of millions of people. Fanciful thinking. But the fact that he said it gets across this notion of we need on some level to be more independent in our behavior. Maybe it's a belief that at some point there's going to be a break between the US. Maybe they have this belief that at some point they're going to be, you can look down the road and see Israel being magnificently unpopular in the United States. And if that translates into some kind of political changeover, changing of the guard of people who grew up with them committing a genocide, no longer accepting the fact that they're committing genocide. Who knows? But the war with Iran is not going to be fought by Israel per se. Israel is going to let the US do their fighting for them because Israel is going to get beat to hell in that war if that war takes place. Is it possible that they know that the US may lose any kind of major war and conflict with Iran? If Iran takes down a carrier, is there going to be pressure to put troops on the ground in Iran? Will they put troops on the ground anyway? And as Colonel Wilkerson has pointed out, they put troops on the ground, the US is going to lose. It's a mountain region. How are they going to get logistics? How are they going to get supplies? How are those people going to be able to get in and get out? Are you really going to be able to do effective bombing raids in mountainous regions? Like, all of these are questions that I don't really have answers to. But this is quantitatively different than Iraq, which was effectively a desert and flatland. I guess my point is it possible that for all intents and purposes, Israel is getting the US into something? Meaning, yes, of course, the United States would like Israel to be a hegemon in a region, but how far does that go? And all things being equal, it would like to maintain control over the genocidal state on some level, which Israel is going to ultimately chafe at. I don't know, it's interesting. Like, most of the objectives dovetail, but there could be a very specific point in which it doesn't dovetail. But we're not at that point yet. So this is a moot point. Let's see. Lucas, get $100 of the United States goes full fascist in the next 8 years. I will bet you goes full fascist in the next 3 years during the Trump administration. Look, it is very strange to put U.S. troops on the ground in states or cities. And you have to ask why. That's very strange. If the president believes that there's going to be some kind of civil conflict that he's going to propagate, would you already want your pieces on the board? Yes. Part of the reason we have so many military bases around the world is because you have chips on the board. You have pieces on the board. I have a knight that I can move into this location. I have a queen that I can move into this location. If you don't have those pieces on the board, then your capabilities of affecting those events diminish. If you take the same rule set or the same policy here domestically, and you start saying, we're going to put troops in California for crime. We're going to put troops in this city for crime. We're going to put troops in this city. And all of these are democratic cities. Okay, is there a belief that there's a line that these states rebuke the Trump administration? Is there a line where California says, fuck it, we're out? This is too far? Meaning, if Trump in the last election was able to steal America, was able to overthrow the Joe Biden administration and take power, do you honestly believe that there wouldn't be some states that said we're out? Same thing happened in Ukraine, right? The government of Ukraine is taken down, and the response to that being taken down, especially in ethnic Russian regions, we are not going to be governed by Nazis. The legitimate government has fallen. We're leaving. We're out. In which case, the civil war develops as a direct result. Would that create a fracture in the U.S.? I think the answer is yes. Is there a point where certain policies or certain things that Donald Trump is doing would create a fracture in the way that certain cities, especially democratic cities, are responding? And is it possible that the military is in those cities because he already knows where he's going and the direction he's going and the expected response of where he's going? Then you get into other interesting questions. Are the military going to murder Americans? Are you going to shoot your fellow Americans? There's a quantitative, I keep saying quantitative, this is my mind now. There's a difference between police and military. At least they're supposed to be. The military murders his enemy. It kills his enemy. That's his job. If you're putting them on Americans, then you're putting them to kill Americans. Again, their job is different. The police's job is not to murder. It's not to kill, even though they do it. There's a difference between police and military. Again, usually. We'll see. But agreed with you, Lucas. Agreed. I'm of mind that this is the door we're walking through for a different world. Hopefully it's not a worse one. Conscious Gentile. Who is a bigger cuck? The United States for Israel or Europe for America? Ooh, that's interesting. I don't think you can get a bigger cuck than Europe. I just don't. Put it in context. Look at what's happening in Europe right now. The U.S. is colonizing its own, all things being equal, ostensibly allies. So they blow up the gas pipeline. They provoke a war in Ukraine. And all of these things, whether planned or not, has had benefit for the U.S. of, A, you've eliminated one of the main physical connections between Russia and Germany, something that you wanted to do, and for that matter, Russia and Europe, by destroying the pipeline. You're forcing Europe to get energy from you 5 times more expensive. And not just from you, by the way. The dirty secret is that they're still getting Russian oil, but they're getting Russian oil through back channels that is costing them additional money. So this cheap energy that they were able to get so they can have their garden of Europe is gone. Russia's moved to the east. Europe is now more dependent, still on Russian oil, paying a markup for it, and on energy from the U.S., paying a 5-time markup for that energy. That is absurd, right? And in doing so, companies falling apart. Germany is in mass layoffs. Britain, France are in deep financial trouble, basically bankrupt, with the government showing that trouble by effectively, utterly, and entirely collapsing. There's a question about whether Macron is going to be able to make it through his term. There's that. You have other political parties that seem to be gaining more steam because those political parties are questioning, what the hell are you doing? And why are you doing this? And why are you damaging us materially? Meaning as Germans or as French people or as the UK. I'm saying that all of these countries have taken a direct hit to their living standards as a direct result of policies for the US. You are suffering for our benefit. And to make this even worse, if you remember, I think it was Scott Benson, when he was talking about this, he said, and by the way, they're going to pay us a 10% premium on weapons, and they're paying for the war. So now you have gotten Europe to pony up money to keep a war going and to buy weapons from you that you are charging 10% more for hashtag reasons. That's amazing. That's astonishing, right? You're damaging your own populations. For what? For what? I don't know if you can vassal harder than that. And then to make it even worse, you get von der Leyen here, who Trump parades out like a Roman general catching a barbarian and put him in a cage so everybody can see the power of Rome. They can throw eggs and potatoes at the person. And he has her sitting there looking like a goofball. And he is effectively saying, we are now going to get X amount from you for 15% tariffs. So thank you for that. And you're going to buy all of this stuff from us. And thank you for that. And she's like, we had to make this deal. Merits comes out. Standard of living is going to be less. We need to cut the benefits for Germans in order to continue to put money into Ukraine. I don't know if you can vassal harder than that. I just don't. And again, my belief, it's a belief. I'm making a distinction between what I know and what I think, is that Israel is a colony, a vassal, a tip of the spear for the U.S. And that much of what you see is theatrics to give this impression that Israel is a rogue actor. They're doing their own thing. It's not connected to us. I mean, this stuff is in policy papers. We don't want to be blamed for stuff that Israel does, so we want to make it look as if there's a distance between the United States and Israel. And so when they do something, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Oh, we had no idea that they were going to attack Qatar, despite the fact that the air defenses and everything else were basically on stand down, which we had to know. Hope you get my point. In one case, it is a clear vassal, meaning Europe, to the US. And they've been damaging themselves, either in putting money out for weapons that they're buying from us, or whether it's buying energy from us at a markup. That's to our benefit. It's to their detriment. And they're doing it anyway, damaging their own populations as they do it. Vassal. It's almost like they're paying tribute. Israel's case, it is a policy to make it look as if Israel has gone rogue. And so everything that they do in regards to murder, genocide, and everything else, we can pretend as if we knew nothing about it. Israel is his own actor, et cetera, meaning it gives the appearance that the U.S. is being vassal purposefully. There's a difference. I would go with Europe as being the biggest vassal. That's my thoughts anyway. Or the biggest cuck, as you put it. All right, guys, let's close this out. You all are awesome. I think I got all of them. Yeah, I think I got all of them. Guys, you're awesome. Shout out to Sarah Bills. She is fantastic. Vassals don't blackmail, infiltrate governments. Why not? Why not? Why don't they? Why not? I mean, look, if you're Israel, is it more important that you know the mind and the thoughts of the government that is effectively paying for your very existence? Yes. You would obviously want to know what's in the president's mind. You would obviously want information to blackmail the president. You obviously want information that you can get in order for your own security, because the thoughts of the U.S. at that point become a national security threat for Israel, because at any point the U.S. can say, we're out, we're done. We're not going to block the vote in the National Security Council. We're not going to vote on the UN Security Council. We're not going to give you billions of dollars to murder and kill. We're not going to do so-and-so. Meaning it is vitally important that they understand what is in the mind of America, because the mind of America is effectively the existence of Israel itself. No, I think they need the information. They need that data. They need it. Just pointing out, women shot in the head because she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Black Americans don't give a fuck about military on the U.S. soil. Baby boy got shot for playing with a toy gun by police, whatever. Yes, you're right. You're right. Again, militarized police. That's why I kept straddling this line between the purpose of police versus the purpose of military. Those things are different things, even though the police have gotten far more militarized in the way that they've operated. Hence, baby boy got shot. for playing with a toy gun. Agreed. Our police are lunatics. Agreed. You're absolutely right. Right here. You own both parties and the media and the judicial system. You are not a vassal anymore. Well, I don't know if they own the judicial system. Ellison is purchasing up all of the media, right? Well, most of it, like 80, 70%. So there's that. But let's be honest, how many people believe what the media puts out? I mean, most people are pretty cynical to what the media is putting out, especially mainstream media. And I would say most people end up in their own political bubbles to, meaning YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc., becomes effectively media. I mean, people may orient around what's being said, but it breaks down and fractures into various stories that are coming out from their political angle. So I feel you, but still, you don't pay hundreds of millions of dollars in political campaigns, like $500 million, whatever that number is, if you have agreement. If you agree with me and you think I'm doing the right thing, I don't have to pay you for it. You just agree. If you disagree with me and I need to get you on my side, how much money does it take for me to pay you and bribe you in order to say yes to whatever I'm saying to you? I'm saying that if indeed the level of control was stable, you wouldn't have to put that much money out. BB has the Epstein files. I don't know what BB has. I don't know what BB has. I strongly suspect Trump is in those files. Maybe have a pedophile president, in which case they don't want to expose it. All right, guys, I'm going to close this up. You all are fantastic. Shout out, firm, complete shout out to the great, the magnificent Sarah Bills. Walks on water, smells like, I don't know, buttermilk, whatever that smells like. She's fantastic. She's awesome. And DD Geopolitics is a great, great source for information. I get usually the opportunity to watch them on Twitter, and they have like news bits coming out all throughout the day. It's a great pretext or beginning to kind of explore and dig into other stories, or to dig into the story in a more in-depth way. But they do fantastic work. They're really good. I am going to end this. Mr. Wonderful, I didn't know where to go with it. It's like you say a word that you're stuck with going in that direction. I didn't know where to go with it. No, she's awesome. Sarah Bills is awesome. I don't know her personally, professionally, I can say it. I don't, but she's awesome. I am going to say like, I'm going to say share, I'm going to say subscribe. Check out DG Geopolitics. She's going to come on with the other man tomorrow. I forget the time, but it's in the video before she left. And I will see you guys on Monday morning. Enjoy your Sunday. Thanks, General Troy. Well, you too enjoy your Sunday. You're 2 hours ahead of me. So you're 3 hours ahead of me. So yeah, enjoy your Sunday too. You guys have a fantastic day. Or a fantastic night. I'm not going to be a location chauvinist. You be safe. Be kind to the degree that you can be kind. I'll see you Monday morning, 7 a.m., 10 a.m., Jamal Thomas channel. Have a good one all.